Good day, everyone. We are the Group 5 and we will be reporting the HT crops or the herbicide tolerant crops. I am May Angeli Isablon, together with my group mates Anra Romero, Bridget Romero, Jalma Sabio, Crisanto Suwalog, and Alexandra K. Sungkang.
Weed management practices. So weeds are the most common problem of farmers because of the competition of nutrients, sunlight, and space. It can also harbor insects and diseases. Weeds can reduce crop yield and quality. Farmers can fight weeds with types of practices in controlling weeds. We have the cultural control, the biological control, mechanical control, and chemical control. So in cultural control, this control includes non-chemical crop management, practices ranging from variety of selection to land preparation to harvest and post-harvest processing. Next is the biological control. Biological control is the deliberate use of a weed's natural enemies to suppress its population. The mechanical control. Weeds are controlled using a rotating hoe, rotary, or conical weeder to cultivate, uproot, and bury emerging young weeds between rows of rice plants. Lastly, the chemical control. So, in chemical weed control, chemicals called herbicides are used to kill certain type of weeds and inhibit their growth. Chemical weed control is an option of integrated weed management that refers to the integrated use of cultural, manual, mechanical, and control methods.
The development of glyphosate and glufosinate herbicide-tolerant crops. Glyphosate, it was synthesized in 1950 by the Swiss chemist Henry Martin. In 1970, the employer of Monsanto discovered the herbicidal nature of glyphosate molecule. Monsanto is a company of an agrochemical and agricultural biotechnology that produce and agricultural products and distribute worldwide. They are commonly or also known for producing genetically modified seeds and herbicides. They introduced the first commercial Roundup product that uses glyphosate as an active ingredient. Glufosinate. Glufosinate is chemically introduced for commercial in 1995. It's chemically synthesized racemic mixture of the D and I stereoisomers of the natural compound iphosphenotrypsin. How does glyphosate and glufosinate work? Glyphosate is a water-soluble, absorbed by the leaves and transported in all parts of the plant, including the roots. It kills plants by blocking the EPSPS enzyme that is involved in the biosynthesis of aromatic amino acids and almost all other aromatic compounds in algae, higher plants, bacteria, and fungi. Glufosinate contains the active ingredients of phosphenotrypsin that kills plants by blocking the enzyme that is responsible for nitrogen metabolism. It is contained a bacteria gene that produces an enzyme. So glyphosate and glufosinate is one of the active ingredients of herbicide that can kill weeds to prevent the competition of nutrients. Thank you.
Impact of herbicide-resistant crops. Weed control. The spectacular increase in area planted to HRCEs by the farmers would not have happened if there were no economic and weed control benefits from the use. So, without cunning herbicide, makaharm on good ang competition of crop kay makaharm ang good sa infestation sa plants. So gamit aning herbicide maka-reduce siya og effects or damage in crops. 1 to 2 timely application of glyphosate or glufosinate following pre-emergence herbicide can provide effective control of a broad spectrum of weeds. Efficient and consistent weed control can economic benefits. The farmer have continued to plant more area in the HRC each year. So efficient ni nga magamit kag herbicide like glyphosate kay efficient ni siya kag consistent para makontrol ang weeds environmental effects using herbicide resistant transgenic crops have positively impacted the environment in several ways. The unprecedented change in herbicide use patterns. So ang patterns daw sang herbicide kay depend sa crop rotation sang crops and environment or climatic factors. Reduced combustion of fossil fuels and resultant decrease in CO2 emission has been achieved through zero or less plowing. Soil and moisture has been conserved by optimization of zero reduced tillage practices. Impact of herbicide resistance in economic issues. Over 30 million HA of transgenic HRCs has been planted, accounting for 80% of soybean and 70% cotton in area in the US by 2003. So maka-less siya og cost kay ang gamit aning transgenic na herbicide. It is estimated that the cultivation of HRCs from 1996 to 2003 has saved US farmers $1.2 billion due to saving in cost from conventional herbicide. So gamit aning maka-save pud siya og cost kay naka-save sila og $1.2 billion gamit og herbicide without using hand weeding kay mas gasto man gud kung magpa-hand weeding ka or magamit kag technology para mawala lang ang weeds sa crops.
Safety aspect of herbicide tolerant technology. So for toxicity and allergenicity, government regulatory agencies in several countries have ruled that crops processing herbicide-tolerant conferring proteins do not pose any other environmental and health risks as compared to their non-GMO counterparts. While for the effects on the plants, the expression of these proteins does not damage the plant growth nor result in poorer agronomic performance compared to parental crops, except for expression of an additional enzyme for herbicide tolerance or the alteration of an already existing enzyme. No other metabolic changes occur in the plant. Lastly, persistence or invasiveness of crops. A major environmental concern associated with herbicide-tolerant crop is their potential to create new weeds through outcrossing with wild relatives or simply by persisting in the wild themselves. The current scientific evidence indicate that in the absence of herbicide application, GM herbicide-tolerant crops are no more likely to be invasive in agricultural field or in natural habitat than their non-GM counterparts. The herbicide-tolerant crops currently in the market show little evidence of enhanced persistence or invasiveness.
So the advantages of HT. So first is excellent weed control and hence higher crop yields.
And the second is flexibility, possible to control weeds later than the plant growth. Third is reduce numbers of sprays in a season. Then fourth is reduce fuel use because of less spraying. And fifth, reduce soil compaction because of less need to go on the land to spray. Use of low toxicity compounds which do not remain active in the soil, and the ability to use no-till or conservation till systems with consequent benefits to soil structure and organisms. So the disadvantages of HT is many of the herbicides are highly persistent. Then the second is marketplace acceptance and an increased reliance on herbicides for weed control. The third is problems with grain contamination, and last is segregation and introgation of herbicide resistant traits. So that's the advantages and disadvantages of HT.
Status of herbicide tolerance. From 1996 to 2018, HT crop consistently occupied the largest planting area of biotic crops. In 2018 alone, HT crops occupied 87.5 million hectares or 45% of the 191.7 million hectares of biotic crops planted globally. The most common are the glyphosate and glufosinate tolerant varieties. Ethical considerations. It was perceived that the long-term effects of HRCS were relatively unknown. HRCS were considered as a wrong choice for achieving sustaining agriculture when the rest do not offset the advantages. Further, HRCS were thought to be artificial and violate a grower's right to choose production of non-transgenic crops.
Following are the herbicide-tolerant crops examples, namely alfalfa, Argentine canola, carnation, cotton, creeping bentgrass, linseed, maize, Polish canola, potato, rice, soybean, tobacco, wheat, and chicory.